Hello to all you fabulous football foodies, and welcome to another episode of Eat More Football. We've got a great show planned for you today. We're going to reflect on week 0 and our thoughts on that, maybe talk about some of our picks. We're going to look forward to the next week, week 1, where there's a great slate of football games coming up. And then we're going to talk top 20 and have a few guests on from the top 20. So we're looking forward to that. But before all that, we're going to go to TJ with This Week in Sports.
All right, we are here in a rainy Jacksonville, for me at least. It's getting ready to pour outside. But anyways, we will persist with This Week in Sports. Game day is finally back. Yes, with week 0. Lee Corso and the gang are in full swing. I mean, maybe not Lee Corso. He's hanging in there, guys. He's hanging in there. He's hanging in there. But we'll make the most out of it. So, but with game day comes picks, right? And Desmond Howard sure did show his off with his great playoff prediction that has caused a roar in college football this week with Texas A&M, Pitt, Baylor, and Michigan, as I will show down there in the corner. He has Texas A&M, out of all people, winning the national championship. What do you guys think about that?
Terrible. I mean, Texas A&M, they've got that great recruiting class, which they did buy. Don't let anyone tell you different. But they have that great recruiting class. But I don't know. I still think they're 2 or 3 years away from being like a great football team, if they're ever going to be one.
If you want my honest opinion on the whole thing, I think Desmond's trying to get some viewership up for his Twitter pages and all that, and people to talk about him, which we're doing right now. So, in today's media and college football, if they're talking about you, you're relevant. And I honestly think that's all that is, because he needs to get his head checked if he seriously believes those 4 teams are in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Texas A&M like making a case for themselves in the playoffs, but like I don't see them winning the Natty. Like that just seems a little much to me. And then Craig, you said that the Auburn athletic director got fired recently. So what's up with that?
Yeah, this week, mutually parted ways, which we all know what that means. Got fired. So I think his contract was up in January possibly, and I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, we know that there was a lot of drama throughout the offseason with Brian Harsin. I know the boosters are, from what I hear, getting their hands in a lot of different things they shouldn't be and trying to run that whole thing. So I'm assuming that's what happened. No facts there, but if you look at Auburn, has been quite a mess for a while. So he was forced out. I don't think he went out on his own accord.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So do we want to move on to week 0?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, let's be real. That was a pretty good slate yesterday for week 0.
Yeah.
I mean, surprisingly, I mean, we had FSU Duquesne. That was in a rain delay for like ever until 6:30.
Yeah.
But just like that. But I mean, that was a fine game. It was a classic blowout. I mean, I think FSU should have won by more. But maybe that's just me. They had a couple penalties that I'm like, that shouldn't have happened. Just some undisciplined things that were happening, which is very FSU-like, especially for the past couple of years. I mean,
I knew it was coming.
Okay, well, there's no bias in that one. Let's be real. I mean, they've just been an undisciplined team for the past couple of years with just the head coaching staff, and I'm sure they'll get that stuff worked out. But I think we can easily say Nebraska Northwestern was the highlight of the day, which for me, I'm going to give that, like the top game of the week for that. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. That was a good game. We were doing our picks like over text of who's going to win the Big Ten. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I think Nebraska actually has a shot at the Big Ten West this year. And then right when I sent it, I said, I bet Nebraska is about to lose this game. And they did. Casey Thompson played great first half. Second half, not so much. I mean, 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. What are you doing, man? So I was extremely disappointed in Nebraska, but surprised by Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Frost, you got to feel for the guy. He's 5-21 in one score games, which is the worst in FBS football. It's hard. I mean, the guy's making a lot of money, but you feel for the guy. Nebraska just dominated, or excuse me, Northwestern just dominated the trenches, in my opinion. And they rushed for over 200 yards, held Nebraska to around 110 yards rushing, I believe. And when the game was on the line was in the right before the first half to me. Nebraska's up 14-10. Pat Fitzgerald decides to go for it on 4th and 1 from their own 38. Quarterback sneak, gets it. They go into score, make it 17-14 to end the first half with 25 seconds left. And obviously they won the football game. And then obviously the onside kick deal that Scott Frost did was not a smart decision. It kind of killed the momentum that Nebraska had at one point as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that they got out coached, they got out physical, and it was one of those games that seemed like Northwestern just played a better football game.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Ryan Helinski had a good game too. He had like over 300 yards passing, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, I have some stats written down here. Casey Thompson was 25 for 42, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ryan Helinski, 27 for 38, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like easily the key to that was turnovers. I mean, that's just, not making your reads, just, being immature, I'll say, from a quarterback perspective. Yeah, that was a great game. I mean, all Nebraska annoyances aside, that was a really great game and a really great way to start college football, which is a great way to get into our newest segment, Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, which is a lot like if helmet stickers on ESPN. It's basically like that. We'll go through a couple games and just kind of crown like a champ of the week type thing, someone who showcased some good stuff during this week. For me, that would be Vanderbilt. Out of all people, who could have thunk it? Vanderbilt. I give my helmet sticker for Winner Winner Chicken Dinner to Vanderbilt. Out of all the hate that we've given them the past couple shows, they really displayed some like great football. I mean, 63-10 versus Hawaii. It is just Hawaii. Maybe we'll hate on them from now on. But
that's we got this. I mean, hey, Vanderbilt blew them out. UConn looked much improved. Hawaii, I love the state. Never been there. I know I'd love it. This is man. You're in our sights as the bottom one now.
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, 63-10. That's kind of ridiculous. Even for like they treated them like an FCS team. Like it was just insane. I didn't stay up for the whole game because I don't. No thanks. But
we're not stupid on this. Yes.
As the oldest member on this show, I definitely was not awake for kickoff.
So, but I mean, it was a great game. I mean, other than the blowout, it was just like a practice game. I mean, I'm sorry, Hawaii. It was just so bad. So, you guys got anything else like with that? Any players of the week or games of the week or what?
I again, wait for it. Hear that? My winner chicken dinner. I already talked about the trenches for Northwestern. I talked about that, but I got to give them the winner chicken dinner. Those offensive linemen, those defensive linemen really set the tone physically for that game and wore out Nebraska on both sides of the ball. And then my next one, I got to agree with you about Vanderbilt. Specifically, though, I want to give Coach Lee, however you say his last name, Lee, right? Leah. I don't know.
I still don't know.
I'll figure it out. I apologize, Coach. But Vanderbilt scored 35 points in the third quarter, 35-0. It's 21-10 at halftime. I want to know what that halftime speech was. I've got right, because whatever he said lit a fire under Vanderbilt to come out and score 35 points in one quarter. So he's my winner chicken dinner for a halftime speech. And then Mike Wright, the quarterback, 13 of 21, over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. And he ran for another 160, I believe, with 2 touchdowns. So that guy is my winner chicken dinner as well.
For sure.
Yeah. And I want to give mine to the North Texas Mean Green. I said last week, I said, this game is going to be kind of a coin flip, but I'll pick North Texas just because they're projected to win a little bit. 31-13 for the North Texas Mean Green. Austin who has still not done my follow request on Instagram. He needs to go ahead and do that. But he played a good game, over 250 yards passing. So I'll give my helmet sticker to the North Texas Mean Green.
Well, and because of you, Natty, I know who the Pioneer Women thing is or whatever that is. I had no idea how to look it up. So, and didn't realize that Austin was 26 years young. Is that correct?
Jeez.
Minor league baseball player, next Chris Winkie.
Wow.
Yeah, he gets like the Sean Clifford Award for like old men in football.
Yeah, seriously. So with picks last week, I know we made our predictions, so I do want to go through the records a little bit. I picked Charlotte over FAU. They totally beat themselves up. It was 43-13 FAU. I predicted the upset. That didn't work out. So that's 0-1. And then I did Vanderbilt versus Hawaii. I picked Vandy. So that's 1-1. And what else did I do, guys? You remember?
Was it I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
Did you have Wyoming, Illinois, or FAMU, North Carolina?
I think I had Wyoming, Illinois, which I picked the Illini. Let's get that right this time. Not the Illini as previously stated. So I went 2-1 for picks this week, which isn't that bad. It felt like I did worse. And then Craig, you had Austin P versus Western Kentucky, which
yes, I feel like I was very close. I called Western. It would be close for a while, which it was. Then Western pulled away a little bit towards the end. I thought they pulled away more, to be honest with you. And I have to mention this. I didn't mention it last week. Everybody's got to love the Austin P champ. Let's go P. That is classic. And I forgot to mention last week my ties to Austin P. I had to mention that. Also, I picked Nebraska over Northwestern. I thought it'd be closer than the 13-point spread, which it obviously was because Northwestern got the W, but I got the loss there. And then I had Florida State and Duquesne. Mike Norvell, congratulations. You can keep your job for another week.
For now.
For now.
Yeah, we need to show a highlight of that Austin P pick six.
Oh my
and the dude was just flailing his arms.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Dude.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. I did some research this morning. I watched the videos on SportsCenter. I didn't know that guy was the QB. Like that is
Really?
the worst tackling effort I've ever seen.
Like a Pilates move or yoga move or something.
We'll put it down here. Here. It's just I don't want to comment any further. That's just shameful. That's just
bless his heart, man. Bless his heart.
That's all we'll say there.
Just trying his best.
Aye. And then Noah, you picked North Carolina over FAU.
I did.
Blowout.
Blowout, definitely.
FAMU,
Drake May?
FAMU, sorry. Yeah, FAMU.
Not Florida.
But no defense, non-existent.
Drake May had a good game, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
4 in the first half. Almost went to Alabama.
Really? Dang.
Yes.
And then Nevada, New Mexico State. Nevada came away with the win. I think you picked Nevada for that, right?
I did pick Nevada. I went 4-0 in picks this week.
Oh, really? Dang.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen in the top 20.
To be fair, I did have the easiest games.
That is true. Yeah.
Utah State, UConn. Utah State won 31-20.
Barely. Yeah, I was surprised by how that came away. But
yeah, UConn stinks.
Jim Mora, man, he's got him rolling. Almost winner chicken dinner, but it's hard to give it when you lose.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so I think we are good to move on. I think the only thing we have left on our slate is week 1 predictions. We are finally here. Week 0 has passed. The burden has lifted off our shoulders. We are now at, we just got to wait. We hear that CBS Sports theme in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I heard it during that Austin P game. Chills ran up my spine.
Chills.
Like, oh, we're back, baby. We're back. So we'll just go through these. I think we got like a good amount of time left on the Zoom meeting because Zoom is a stickler about time. So
Yep.
we don't have to hurry through these, I don't think. So we can just start going through them and talk what we think.
We do want to make sure we're done by 3, though.
That is true,
Yeah.
because in our next segment, Tales from the Top 20, we will be having 4 guests from the top 20, which will be announced when we have them on. So that will be very exciting. We got some questions to ask them, and just pry out whatever we can from their top 20 knowledge. So we'll have fun doing that. Look forward to that later in the episode. So yeah, let's get into week 1 picks. Who wants to start?
I'll start, knock it out. So Utah, Florida. I got Florida, like I've said this before, in the upset. I'm saying 28-27 in the swamp. Oregon, Georgia. I think Georgia covers the spread and beats Oregon 38-17. Too much for those Ducks. The Dogs are. Cincinnati and Arkansas. Boss Hog in the house versus Luke Fickle.
What's he say?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Going to be no sir this week, Boss Hog, because Cincinnati is going to beat you 24-21 in the upset city.
Ooh.
I'm not going to like that, right? Then Notre Dame, Ohio State, the premier classic matchup of classic college football powers. Ohio State rolls 34-20, but doesn't cover. I think it's 17 points. Florida State, LSU. LSU 31, Florida State 24. LSU covers at home in Death Valley.
No, New Orleans, but it might as well be Death Valley.
It's gonna feel like Death Valley, right?
Oh yeah, jeez. Noah, you can go next.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all those picks there, except for Cincinnati, Arkansas.
I knew it.
I love Arkansas personally. I think Sam Pittman is like such a good guy, such a good coach. They rally behind him. KJ Jefferson's coming back for another year. I mean, and it's gonna be like at the Arkansas's home game. It's gonna be crazy. I get Cincinnati's home gets crazy, but like they don't play against many big like home field advantages like that. So I think Arkansas is gonna win. All the other picks I agree with. I think Georgia's gonna beat Oregon worse than you said they were gonna beat. And actually have Utah beating Florida by a field goal or something like that. But other than that, it's all the same.
Close, everyone.
Close.
Let's see. I'll go through mine real quick. Utah, number 7, Florida, unranked. Sorry, guys. But I just watched College Football Nerds. Shout out to them because they're awesome. They both predicted Florida to win. Both of them. I mean, I'm not sure how much credibility that gives, but it's College Football Nerds. I think they have a lot of good stuff to say. Both were in like a 3 or 4 point spread. And I think a lot of that is because home field advantage. I mean, they brought up the point, Utah has not played in an environment like the swamp, how it's going to be ever. Because the closest thing that would be Oregon. And, comparing Oregon to the swamp with 90,000 people, let's pop this one down in the screen down there. Dameon Pierce, or I think we're using the video screen up there now. So I'm going to pop that up there.
All right.
Dameon Pierce run versus Auburn. We'll pop that up.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. It's easily the best game that has ever been played in the swamp, I think. Utah comes in favored at -2.5. I think it's going to be like that. It's going to be really close. I think Florida can pull the upset. We just need to out-physical them. I mean, because Utah is a physical team. That's what they preach all day. So we need to come prepared, stacked, and play hard. And hopefully, as shown against Alabama last year, that crowd noise affected Alabama like more than anticipated.
Definitely. Yeah.
So hopefully, it's always nice when the fans can do their part. It's like so cool when that type of stuff happens. So hopefully it can happen again. Over under is 51. I got Florida, -3, right? -3 or 4. So Next, Oregon, number 11 versus number 3, Georgia. Chick-fil-A kickoff. Georgia's minus 17.5. Over under is 52. Oh, that's great. No, not a sponsor. Not a sponsor. We can't be putting them in here. It'll be they'll really come at us for that.
We'll get demonetized even though we have no money.
Yeah. But I got Georgia winning big. I think Oregon will put up a good fight at the beginning, but just like the Nebraska game, I think, Georgia will get the better of them, except I think it'll be a wider point spread, wider margin of victory than that. Cincy, Arkansas, number 23, Cincinnati, number 19, Arkansas, point spread, Arkansas, -6. Over under is 51.5. I got Arkansas, Boss Hog.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's right, just like that. Arkansas comes out with the win. I agree, probably a 6 or 7 point spread. I think 10 at the most. It's going to be a good game. I'm telling you. One that we didn't feature, Houston versus UTSA. I did just want to mention that. That's probably going to be a better game than people think. UTSA was really good last year. Houston comes in ranked 24. Houston's favored by 4. We're not going to pick that game, but I just wanted to, throw it out there.
UTSA Conference USA champions. Defending.
Let's see. Next, we have Notre Dame, Ohio State. Let's see. Number 5, Notre Dame versus number 2, Ohio State. That's going to be a great game, everyone. Night game, right? No, not night game. 7:30. Yep, 7:30 p.m. on ABC.
The horseshoe.
OSU comes in at 17, -17, with a 58.5 point spread. Where's the defense at?
Yeah.
I've got Ohio State coming out with the win. I think Marcus Freeman and the Irish will put up a good fight. I'm interested to see how it's going to go. I really, don't know how it could fold, because we don't, they're kind of starting from scratch at Notre Dame a little bit. They've gotten up to number 3 recruiting class or something like that. I don't even remember.
I think they're number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah.
In recruiting news, all the recruiting teams have stayed the same because nothing's changed. We're kind of in a lull in recruiting right now, which is good. No, I'm glad I don't have to keep up with it.
Notre Dame is number 3. Texas is number 2.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clear that up.
Is Texas back, everyone?
No, they're not.
But I got Ohio State coming out with the win. And then last is, we're getting a bunch of advertisements on ESPN over here. Okay, we'll go in blind. FSU versus LSU. I think I got a couple stats for this. LSU comes in favored, -3. I'm not sure what the over-under is because ESPN is being stupid right now. But no, if you want to look that up for me, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do that right quick.
50s. I can't remember specifically.
I don't know, man. This is going to be hard because, as we all know, I hate FSU. But LSU is my mortal enemy. I just hate them so much. So I don't know. I'm going to be kind of in the back seat just watching this game because
they can both lose. Sorry.
Yeah, they can. Well, they can both lose. I bet they could find a way.
Somehow tie. It's overtime now, but
yeah, seriously. I mean, I've probably got LSU coming away with the win. I think they're going to out physical Florida State, and I think LSU will come away with the win. I've got probably by a touchdown. But if we end up going to a game, which we might, I guess I'll be rooting against LSU like the entire season because we might go to the LSU game. But Noah, did you get the over under for that?
Yes. Actually, no, I didn't.
Oh.
Hold on. Over under is 51.5. I don't know. That seems about right. LSU has 72.5% chance.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. As I said, I got LSU. I think it'll be a good game. This whole week 1 is stocked full of great games, even ones that we didn't mention.
One thing that will play to Florida State's advantage is that they've had a week already in game, so LSU hasn't played. So we'll see.
Yeah, and
To be fair,
especially
does Duquesne actually count as a game?
Like a scrimmage.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a scrimmage. I mean, come on. Let's see. All right, we are pushing 3:00, so we will get you back. We'll take a short break, and in our break, we are including a new segment, stat and quote of the week. We'll just flash that on the screen. We'll let you read that and see what you think, and we will come back with our top 20 guests and tales from the top 20. All right, we'll see you then.
All right, everybody, welcome back and welcome to Tales from the Top 20. As you can see on your screen here, we've got a few more boxes up there. We've got guests from our actual top 20, and we're excited to have them on. What I'm going to do is introduce them in order, reverse order from the power rankings that we released last week. So at number 7, wave your hand, it's Tammy Schissel of Jacksonville, Florida. A little bit about Tammy. She has been in the top 10 of the top 20 7 times in the last 10 years. Her best finish in the last 10 years was 2019. She ended up number 4, has never finished in the bottom 5. She's been very, very consistent, as you can see. And she brings in that number 7 spot of that power ranking. At number 6, we've got Jake Sanborn of Del Mar, California, all the way on the left coast. All right. He's our number 6. He's a very good picker. Obviously, last year, for reasons that were beyond his control, could not be in the top 20 because he was doing something a little bit more important than picking college football games. He was defending our freedom. So thank you, Jake. Jake was 2013, 2014, finished second runner-up, was so close to that title, but he has never finished in the bottom 5, very consistent. And he has 4 top 5 finishes in the last 10 years. So he has solidified that number 6 ranking. And then we're going to jump to Russell Sanborn, wave at the camera, of DeLeon Springs, Florida. Also one that's defended our country. Spoiler alert, Russell and Jake are related. If you can't tell by the pictures, Jake is son, Russell is father. So we're excited to have them on the show together for a little bit of father-son banter. But Russell checks in at number 2 in our power ranking. He won the championship in 2016. And in 15, he was ranked 2nd in the pick. So he had a nice run there. He's at 8 top 5 finishes. Right, 8 of those.
And with the prize money, I retired early.
71% winning percentage with his picks. Okay. That's above everybody but our top person, which is John Candito of Dr. Phillips, Florida, I believe, outside the Orlando area. I mean, John's record goes without saying. It's been incredible. He's our number 1 person in the power rankings, and he won championships, 4 of them in the last 10 years, 2013, 2015, 2019, 2021. And guess what? He finished 2nd, 2012, 17, 18, and 20. But we won't talk about 2017 too much because you guessed it. His wife, Carrie Beth, beat him that year. They made it through that stretch, and they're still together with a great family. So we're happy that that didn't cause any issues. But he's finished in the top 5 10 times, all 10 years, 4 championships. And his winning percentage is just a little bit above Russell at 71.8%.
He's basically our Nick Saban.
He is our Nick Saban, that's for sure. He's all about championships, right? All right, so we want to hear from them now because that's the reason they're on the show. So I'm going to go and I'll start with you, Tammy, first. All right. The question we want to ask you is, number 1, what's your experience with the top 20 been and what does it mean to you? And then also, how have you been so successful from year to year on the top 20?
So I have been a part of the top 20 since I was 11 or 12. So that's more than 30 years. So that tells you my age. I started picking when there was three other family members involved. So the editor, which was my dad, his cousin Dan, and then his brother, my uncle Steve, who's John's dad. I was the only girl, and I used to pick based on, did I like the mascot? Did I like the color of the teams? Did I like the team name? Did I think a guy was cute on the team? That's how I used to pick.
Palmer.
Now my picking has then, after seeing a lot of Coach C play, after being, growing up in it and being in it, watching college football game anytime I could, my picking has evolved. However, I do still pick with my heart sometimes, and I always go with Florida because I'm a diehard Gator fan, if you couldn't tell. And almost always pick Navy, to my detriment recently, especially. And so, picking with my heart is important. I'm loyal, and I like to do that. So, but it doesn't matter. You can pick. You can think that you know the teams. You can think that you know the players. You can think that you've done all the research, and then you've got that upset that comes, and you're angry, and you're speechless, and you can't believe that happened. And it's what keeps us coming back for more, right? So, I mean, it's a great thing that brings us together. We live and breathe, obviously, college football. And it's just a lot of fun, and we love it.
And I'm glad to hear that your picking has evolved, because that made me feel really bad, because you're ranked higher than me in the power rankings. So I was getting beat by somebody that picked on the colors of the uniform really makes me feel pretty good. All right, let's see who's up next. My friend, Mr. Jake.
Yeah. So, so my early memories of like the top 20, originally I was a tag team effort with my dad, going way back to like the childhood days. And we used to have like discussions about the picks. When I was younger, it was also like die hard, like if it's Florida or like Navy, like definitely selecting those teams. But my dad's more of a cold, hard calculus kind of guy, and it's like they're not favored to win, and so he kind of shapes some of my thinking there. And as I've kind of grown up, I watch a lot of college football. That's kind of like how I spend way too much time watching college football on Saturdays. And now being on the West Coast, I literally wake up and college football is already on. So it can be on all day. And I really enjoy doing it. And it's kind of a bonding thing for us and our family. And so I know the players, coaches look into it, but sometimes that works against you. Because you start thinking like, this looks like it's definitely going to be an upset. And then that team doesn't show up on the road or whatever. And college football is predictably unpredictable. So I usually don't wind up at the bottom, because I know enough about college football to just kind of look at the games, know who the favorites are going to be. And then usually I'm missing, those crazy upsets that everybody's missing. Something I'm doing a little bit different this year, though, I'm looking into more of is, and I think it's the secret with my dad and John over here, is the incorporation of Vegas, and some of their picking strategies, and maybe using a little more facts and numbers based and less emotions, I guess, and kind of gut feelings. So, and I'm also trying to keep track of some of the Vegas spreads, because I think college football is like one of those unique sports that, because it's so unpredictable, there are some spreads that are pretty ridiculous, and I think I want to know how well I would actually do, because you get these like gut feelings. Like, for example, this week 0, I was looking at some of the spreads And like one of the things that stood out to me was like Nebraska, Northwestern. Nebraska was favored by 11, which I was like double digits for a Nebraska team that really struggled last year. Northwestern's bound to improve. They're a tough team. Even if Nebraska wins this game, I don't think they're winning by double digits. And then sure enough, they end up losing the game. So I'm trying to keep track of how I do against the spread, so to speak. And I'm hoping that maybe some more of the numbers are gonna push me over to the top, because like you said, 2013-14, I was like right there, but gotten kind of dropped down, like, back in like just barely in the top 5. So gunning for the championship this year.
Love it. Uncle Russell, what you got?
All righty. Hey, so my thoughts on the top 20. One, I really appreciate Uncle Jim way back when he started this. And I think it might have been mentioned already, but remember that was pre-internet, pre any of that stuff. He would mail out the top 20, and then you had to mail back your answers. I just find that remarkable. And then your dad, Craig, picked it up and started running with it, modernized it a little bit, emailed, and now you and TJ and Noah have even now got this Google thing, which I think will make life easier, quicker. So it's good. We're progressing. But at the same time, the fundamentals are we're having fun with it. I mean, we got family, we got friends connected all over the country. It's a way for us to banter back and forth. My son and I, just like Jacob said, when we started out, we would talk about it. And now Jacob is way better at the nuances of sports. And like he said, I'm more of a analytical guy. And I think John's going to say the same thing here. I believe in numbers, stats, power rankings, computer polls. But at the same time, I don't just go after the Vegas rules there, because there are nuances. Weather, hey, a team that's from the South and they happen to be playing a game up in Michigan and it happens to be cold, even though the Southern team may be favored. I'm like, wow, they haven't played in cold weather. That may be a deciding factor. Momentum, they're coming off a big win. They upset somebody, so maybe they're pumped up. So even though the Vegas odds may say plus or minus 3 or 4 points, you may go the other way on that one. And then at the same time, I am a Marine, so I'm all about competition. And when I see John Candido always ahead of me by 2-3 points, or somebody like that, I know that he's going to pick the same teams I'm going to pick, and I'm never going to advance unless I think outside the box on 1 or 2 games and go for an upset somewhere. So I go after those kind of stats, rivalries, and I'm all about trying to get in the top 3, stay in the top 3, use numbers, use stats, and then just throw some nuances in there and see where I place out. But it's fun. I enjoy it.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. John Candido, let us hear it.
Yeah. So I'm fairly certain I learned how the mail works because of the top 20. And I'm also fairly certain I have sent more letters to Jarvis Avenue than anywhere else in the world ever, and I highly doubt that will ever be eclipsed in my lifetime. I don't remember what age I was, but I started picking the top 20 with my dad, and we were, the sheet got mailed to us, we mailed it back, and every now and then my dad would kind of look at my sheet and say, "You sure you want to pick Penn State for that game? They're not very good this year." And so, brand recognition goes a long way when you're 7 or 8 or whatever it is. And so, always picking Florida. The non-Candido side of my family are Florida State fans, so I was often picking Florida State as well, had the divided household. So that was my method for a long time. I remember being very grateful when we switched over to email. Largely because I was tired of the physical work of, addressing an envelope and making sure I had stamps, which I think by that point, this was the only thing I ever mailed. And so glad we're in the digital age here. But yeah, as Uncle Russell said, I mean, what a great way to kind of stay in touch and compete. And as I said before the start of the show, I now have the yearly debate with myself on when I should start paying for cable again so I can watch the games. And yeah, so looking forward to another great season.
All right, well, we're not going to ask you your exact method for picking because we don't want anybody to give their secrets away. But let us in a little bit on what you were talking about, because I think our viewers would be interested and laugh at your Malaysia statement.
Yeah, so I had, call it the brand recognition picking strategy for years and years, and all the way through high school, college. And then I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or so, one of my first jobs, I ended up living in Malaysia for a year. And so as the college football season approached, that we had the internet, but it was, far less developed than it is now. And there was absolutely no way I could figure out how to stream the games. And, I just had very limited access to information. And so that season, I kind of said, all right, well, I can either, just assume that I'm not going to know very much and kind of pick based on what I know from last year. But I'm a little bit competitive. And so I thought, now let's take this as a challenge and see if I can improve on that. And as has been suggested, I'm very much a data-driven guy, and that's how I try to understand the world. And so I just went looking for data, and I, found as much as I could about, historical records of the teams and the players, and Vegas has been mentioned. That's always helpful. That's, where else do you get to know what thousands or millions of other people think about who's going to win? So that's helpful. And, you kind of play around with what kinds of data can I get, and how much does each kind of data matter? And I think beyond all of that, the hard part, but the important part is whatever system you have, you're never going to know how good the system is unless you choose to stick with the system. And so I think there's a real sort of, human skill to not overriding the math when you think you have a good set of math. And so you kind of put all that in a nutshell, and I've evolved my system over the years, but by and large, it's pretty data driven. And I find it really interesting. I think, Craig, you mentioned the stats. I think the winning percentage between Uncle Russell and I is probably well under 1% difference. So, we're not talking, and I went back and looked after I saw the power rankings. I got curious, and the years I've won or lost, it's only been by 1 game, 2 games, 3 games. It's, there's not enormous spread on this. It's, which tells me we've got some really, really good pickers and some really, really good competition, and that's what makes it fun. And so I look forward to another year of that.
Awesome. Now we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
All right, and we are back with some more questions for our top 20 fellows right here. My question is, who is your final 4 in the college football playoff? I know that, a lot of things with college football are, I think, too playoff centered. Let's just play college football without having to worry about the playoffs every once in a while. But because it's a topic of conversation, we might as well do it. So we'll start off with my mom, Tammy. So what are your thoughts? What are your final 4 in the college football playoff?
So my final 4, I have Ohio State. I think Ryan Day's been building momentum with that program the past couple of years, and so this year may just be their time. So I've got Ohio State at 1, and besides, he does have the beard, so makes him wise, right? Number 2, I've got Alabama. You can't ever pick against Nick Saban. He's the man. So he'll be up there at the top all the time. Number three, I've got Georgia. They lost a lot of players. I just don't think that they'll have a repeat season. And then number 4, I've got Utah. I think they're going to come back strong. Makes me nervous for Florida next week. But I think it's a good, solid team, and they've got something good going there. So those are my top 4.
All right. Now, the curious thing that we're going to wonder, so let's say I think Florida will end up beating Utah. There's still that possibility of the 11-1 because I think Utah will go undefeated, after a hypothetical loss to Florida. So I think that would put them in the college football playoff too. So I can understand that with that pick. So, all right, moving on to Jake. Who are your final four?
So this is not very creative, but I think there's such a gap between like probably these four teams and everybody else that, the way I kind of see it is like, you can't pick against Alabama or Ohio State. Alabama, great talent, Nick Saban, in a rebuilding year. They were in the national championship game. And I'll make an argument that if they had Jamison Williams for the whole game, that's a very different turnout. And maybe they beat Georgia again. So
don't get Noah started, please.
Finally, someone agrees with me.
All I'm saying is it doesn't lie. There's a very big difference between the Alabama offense with Jamison Williams was on the field and when he went off.
Yes, thank you.
That Georgia defense, though, was for real, and I still think Georgia is going to reload. They still have some great players. I know there's been some discussion about is Stetson Bennett good, is he not good? All I know is that the guy already won a national championship. He makes the plays that he needs to make. Maybe he's not like a Cam Newton super special kind of player, but with the right talent around him, which Georgia is going to have lots of talent, I have to say I was very impressed that the way he like turned the ball over in that national championship game, and then the very next drive he stands right in there, throws a huge pass, needs a touchdown drive, and I was like, at that moment, that was when I knew that Georgia was going to win this game because he had that kind of it factor. So I think those three schools are probably the tops going in. They're probably going to stumble. At least one of them is probably going to get upset, but I don't see more than really a one loss for any of those three. And particularly with Alabama and Georgia, there's a good chance that those two meet in like the SEC championship game. And then I think Clemson is due for a rebound year. I think you look at the ACC. First of all, they went 10-3 with a very subpar offense. And they're going to have another elite defense. Their defensive line is one of the best in the country. So if you can control the trenches, they've recruited well. If they play in the ACC, they're probably going to run the table, I would think. So I think those four are going to be kind of as left standing. I think the Utah pick's kind of interesting to me. I see like the Pac-12 has been like the last couple of years been left out because they are an inferior league, and you see that when they actually play real talent. But I think there's some teams on the rise, and really maybe there's a chance, like outside chance with the weakness of the Pac-12, that I could see a Utah, an Oregon, or even a USC potentially as like getting an outside if they're undefeated and they're on the table, because again, Pac-12 is not the strongest, so it's going to be one of those three teams that wins the Pac-12. And if any one of those three teams are undefeated winning the Pac-12, it's going to be a hard argument to leave them out. So
yeah, look, Craig's got a dog in his picture. What's going on? I mean, yeah, because with Clemson, like, we got to keep in mind, I mean, 10-3 is not a bad season, right? We're only judging the 10-3 season by Clemson standards, which is almost always, 11-1, 12-0, all that. So, and yeah, because they had like a lot of talent around them, but DJ Uiagalelei was just like playing like hot garbage. So it's like, I think we'll see drastic improvement from him this year. Like we said last week, I think Clemson's in the, show me, like they got to prove it, going on the road to the playoffs. But I think they can make a strong case for them to get it in. Let's see, who's next? Is Russell next?
All righty. Well, I find it interesting that, like I said, I'm more of the analytics, data-driven, so when you say who's going to make it all the way to the top four, you can crunch numbers, and that's what computers do, and AI is out there helping you. But I love listening to you guys, and I did a little homework and just read some sports, ESPN and sports.com, and boy, they say the same things that you guys say. They talk about the nuances of, hey, we didn't go to the transfers list because we thought our talent was good enough. Other teams are like, hey, a lot of these guys drafted, so I've lost my entire front line, so that's going to make a difference. And it just goes to show you that football, college football, especially because things change every year. Obviously, it's very rare that you have a kid start off as a freshman, stays all the way till his senior year, and you watch him grow up and he gets better and better, and nobody leaves, nobody gets injured. Like in the pros, you're on the team maybe for 5, 6, 7, 8 years if you're healthy and so forth. So that's what I love about college football, and just all the nuances that can change. But obviously, the top four, when you look at the data, it does say, at least for me, Alabama's going to be there. They're going to be probably all the way to the national championship. Georgia followed shortly there behind them. They got a strong team. Obviously, even though they lost quite a few players, I've read a couple of things where the coach said, hey, I don't need to go get more because I think what I have here is good enough. And that's confidence right there. I love that about him. Next out there would be Ohio State, and then obviously Clemson, would round out my top four. But with all that said, TJ, I think you just said it, a team that's 10-3 could end up going all the way. And that's because somebody else was 9-4 and somebody else was 11-2, and you think they're going to go undefeated, but they get an upset or they just get beat on the road. And so it's topsy-turvy all the way to the end, and it's going to be fun to watch to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at last year, I mean, everyone thought it would be, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and we ended up having Cincinnati and Michigan, who, I mean, Cincinnati, first group of 5 team to ever make it to the playoffs. And then Iowa was number 2 for like 2 straight weeks. And then, they kind of crashed and burned. But it's like after last year, anything can happen at this point. It kind of opened the floodgates to like, oh, okay, we can actually hopefully do other stuff and balance it out a little bit. All right, on to John. See what he has to say.
Yeah, so all of you sound so eloquent and knowledgeable about what we're discussing here. I know so little about what's just been said. And the funny thing with I guess really anything, but take college football, is the data is by far the worst for any given season before the season starts. So there again, I know so little about what's been said. I will rapidly update my opinions as we get more data, but we're, it's early days right now. So, and of course, as I think TJ, you said, the wonderful thing about college football is this can go anywhere. So I have very, very, very little confidence in what I'm about to say carrying any predictive weight whatsoever. But, it's hard not to say, Bama, Buckeyes, Bulldogs, Tigers for your top 4. I do think there's some interesting evidence that no one said Texas A&M yet, but they look fairly promising preseason. Notre Dame looks fairly promising preseason. Probably USC as well. So, if I had to pick top 4 now, it'd still be Bama, Buckeyes, Bulldogs, Tigers. But with, enormous room for movement throughout the season, which of course is what keeps us coming back.
I think it's pretty interesting just hearing you say that about this year specifically with data. The one word I heard over and over and over and over again yesterday was transfer. So there's like, take USC for example. Yeah, they're a wild card. He went out and got a bunch of different transfers. They were 5-7 last year. Couldn't predict them to go so high this year. We'll see. So the transfer game, I think, is really changed the game a lot.
Yeah, because I mean that opens it wide up to be like, usually USC would recruit primarily, hopefully in the state of California, but that completely opens the doors to like you can have someone from South Carolina who's a 5-star player be like, oh, well now I want to go to USC, as a transfer. Like that completely just opens all the possibilities to what a player could do.
Litikoff winner. He went straight from Pitt to USC.
Yeah.
How
So
do
doesn't that mean that transfers, because you're going after individual talent? So it's really now about the coach having to pull together individuals and making a team. I got a star running back. I picked up a star wide receiver. I picked up a star defensive back. But you know what? They came from 3 different places. They played 3 different styles. Now they're playing my style, and I got to make them stop thinking like individuals. And, I guess this maybe goes back to my Marine Corps days is I don't care where you came from, your broken home or whatever. I'm going to break you down and I'm going to build you back up. You're going to be a Marine first, and you're going to be part of the Marine team. And that's probably what a coach is probably having. His biggest struggle, even though he's got his talent, is putting that team together.
It's very personalized and much easier to recruit nowadays. Well, for most people, schools like Vanderbilt sometimes have struggle with that. But
Don't sleep on Vandy.
It only took you about 45 minutes to get a Vandy jab in there. It's got to be some kind of record.
From now on out, TJ.
The new record.
Vandy bad.
Vanderbilt, as of right now, is the best team in the SEC. Mm-hmm. We'll just say that. All right. Well, thanks everyone for answering that question. I think Noah has another one in store for us right here.
I do. So here's the scenario. You are the athletic director for whatever school. I'll just say Pate State or whatever. So your head coach just gets fired after having a terrible 0-12 season for the 5th straight year in a row. Who would you hire as your dream head coach?
I guess I'm up with that one. Obviously you're going to say Nick Saban. Like, who wouldn't want to have Nick Saban as their head coach to come and try to turn their program around? However, I really like what I see out of Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I know that we haven't seen him as a head coach yet, but when he got hired, the way those players rallied around him and were so excited that he was named head coach, that just says something about him as a coach and as a person. So if I can't get Nick Saban, which who can get Nick Saban, I think I'd go with Marcus Freeman.
Good pick.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so obviously Nick Saban's your first phone call, and then I would think your second phone call has got to be Dabo Swinney. What he's built at Clemson, the culture that he has built it's a winning tradition now. It's one of the for a while it was the program to be able to go toe to toe with Alabama, and I think he develops young men in a way that makes an institution proud. So it's not just the football stuff, the off the field stuff. You look at Clemson players and their program and the way things are run. He's an outstanding coach, and I think somebody that you would definitely want to have at your institution. We'll kind of see how it plays out with NIL, because I think he's a little bit more of an old school kind of coach. And in the upcoming years, and there's a little bit more with players wanting NIL deals, and Clemson just kind of operates a little bit differently, but they get talent there. So Dabo Swinney would be my second call, and then my third call would be Kirby Smart at Georgia, trying to steal him away, because he's outside of Dabo. It's him and Dabo are probably the only ones that have consistently been able to actually go toe to toe with Alabama on the biggest scale. So those are my picks for coaches.
All right, we can just go in the same order the last question was. So who's up next?
I think I am there. I'm gonna have to echo Jacob. Yeah, I'd love to call Nick Saban, but you know what? You listen to him, He's a great coach, but boy, he's just boring. His interviews are boring, and I'm all about, a winning team, but how about a little enthusiasm? And when you listen to Dabo Sweeney, he's just, you can get behind him from all walks of life. He's got a great down-to-earth presentation. And let's face it, 150 out of 36 winning record, he proves he knows what he's doing. So he's in the deep South, and the team that I want to put together is somebody that, they respect, somebody that's down to earth, but knows how to coach, knows how to talk. And, that thing about nil, that's an interesting thing. I'm not sure how that affects the players themselves, although, now they get money for their images and for endorsements and commercials and things like that. I hope it doesn't affect the way they play or how they think of themselves, and but that may be a factor. But yep, Dabo Sweeney, that's who I'd go for. And all it takes is what, $4.5 million a year to get him.
Yeah, I think it's more than that. Probably like close to 9 or 10, isn't it now? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's got a new contract.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And if you're trying to steal him away, you're going to probably have to pay him 10, 15 million. Maybe get something guaranteed like what Jimbo Fisher got at Texas A&M.
And I was on track to go that direction in college football coaching. Now look at me.
You look a lot less stressed than everybody else. Yeah, I would. Okay, I've got a sleeper here. Sam Hinkie would be my first phone call.
Ooh.
And I would say first phone call. And that's got everything to do with, I think the transfer rules have made this game really, really interesting. This has already been suggested. So your question is, who's really good at playing Moneyball? Because half the game is how you acquire your talent, and often thinking, a year or sometimes years into the future to see, if you look at what Hinkie did to get Joel Embiid to the 76ers. I mean, he was giving up picks and basically tanked the team for a year or two to come out really, really, really strong a few years down the road. And there are very, very, very few people on the planet that know how to play a game that long and be that patient and know you're going to have a bad season or two to build a really, really, really great program. So between what he did at the Houston Rockets and what he did at the 76ers, and just who he is, if you've not heard a podcast with him, Google him and listen to him. I mean, he's all about compounding trust with people. He seems to be a very high character individual. He's certainly smart as anything, but really just a very holistic thinker in a way that, yes, you have other coaches like that. I just think it'd be really interesting to see if he turned his lenses to college football and kind of moneyballed the heck out of the transfer rule, what might happen. So I'm going to say Sam Hinkie.
Wow,
Right.
John with a big sleeper right there.
Basketball pick. Whole
Yeah.
different story. Didn't see it coming.
All right, and I think we have one more question that will come from Craig. Open it up.
All right. So, favorite college mascot? Go, Tammy.
So, I mean, obviously I love the Florida Gator, but I'm going to go with the LSU Tiger. Seeing that tiger and that
Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Yeah. That tiger
Not anymore.
eye.
Not anymore. It's like that now.
Louisiana State University.
Yeah. That tiger eye on the field, and that tiger kind of prancing back and forth, and so I'm going to go with LSU Tiger.
Nice. That's intimidating. He's an intimidating, or she, whatever it is.
Mike the Tiger.
Mike the Tiger. Yep.
I could see that. The Mike the Tiger is kind of a unique mascot. PETA doesn't really enjoy it, but I do. So I'm partial to the Gators, but I got to say, how about the old and gnarly goat? For Navy midshipmen, goat's old
right.
gnarly.
Right back there.
Just a great rough and tough mascot. Really embodies the blue collar attitude. of Navy football when they decide not to wear like all their have like their turnover chain or whatever weird stuff they're doing these days. But that's what I'm talking about. Coach C knows what I'm talking about there. So I think as long as it's it's kind of a unique mascot. I would say that's my top one.
Does that helmet even still fit, Craig?
That hurt. Okay, I think my head's got my playing day somehow.
All right, Russell, you're up.
Jake, the GOAT.
Goat is all gnarly. Roll goats.
You're a Marine, son. You can't dress a goat up and make him look tough and mean and.
Sure you can. Old gnarly, never been to school, but he'll take the bacon from a worn out old army mule.
I got to go for tradition. I'm all about tradition. So DeLand High School, Bulldogs. I joined the Marine Corps, 33 years. Our mascot, Bulldogs. So I've got to go with the Mississippi Bulldogs.
Wow.
Mississippi State Bulldogs. All right.
Specifically the Mississippi State Bulldog?
Yeah. Man.
Not UGA.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, he wants to be disrespectful for Georgia.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Georgia Bulldogs, either one. But, in the Marine Corps, we say Bulldog, we can be described as two types of dogs. We're either Dobermans or Bulldog.
Right.
Dobermans, we got our ears pinched back, our tails pinched back, we got gnarly teeth. Some Marines are lean and mean like that. And then other Marines are just big and bulky and they're shaped like bulldogs and they just kind of go through battle and fight their way through there. So the Bulldog, it's the perfect mascot for football.
Which one's Jake?
Jake is a goat.
Oh man, you partially stole mine. I was going to say I've always enjoyed when Georgia's playing in particular the contrast between the ferocity of the team and then whenever they do the mascot shot of the Bulldog and he's just sitting there and he could not look less interested in what's happening.
Yeah.
So, respect to him because he's still around and he doesn't look very supportive. But I think I'll go with who doesn't like a bear on a Harley, which it's Monty, right? From it's Montana, right? He drives down the field. Yeah. It's I had to pull that one out of my back pocket, but yeah, I bear on a Harley. Who doesn't like that? That nothing says football quite like that.
That's true. That is true.
Nice.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you to all of our wonderful top 20 guests for being a part of this today. Top 20 starts. Get your picks in. Get ready to go. Bragging rights are on the line and that elusive small prize. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Eat More Football, and then send us any of your questions regarding the show or college football or any sport in general, and we'll answer it in our What's Cooking section at eatmorefb@gmail.com. That's Instagram and Twitter at Eat More Football, and then our email is eatmorefb@gmail.com. See you next time.